Have you ever sat in silence, heart heavy, not because a stranger hurt you, but because someone you raised, someone you sacrificed everything for, spoke to you like you were disposable? It might have been just a sentence, a sharp reply, a dismissive glance, but it stuck with you. It echoed in your mind that night. It stayed with you at the kitchen table the next morning, staring into your tea, wondering, was I really that bad of a parent? Did I deserve that tone? Am I just a burden now? This video is for you. Because far too many seniors, good, loving parents, are walking on eggshells in their own homes. Silenced not by strangers, but by their own children. Controlled not with fists, but with words that cut deep. And sometimes, those words come wrapped in sweetness, in guilt, in subtle blame, and carefully chosen phrases that seem harmless, but leave bruises invisible to the eye. In just a moment, I'll reveal 7 phrases that adult children sometimes say, phrases that may seem ordinary at first, but quietly tear down your sense of self. If any of them sound familiar, it might be time to pause, reflect, and maybe, just maybe, step back. Because you deserve better. And I hope you'll stay with me until the very end, because I'll be sharing a story. A story about a woman in her late 70s, who finally stopped apologizing for existing. Who stood up, not with anger, but with quiet dignity, and changed everything. But first, let's take a closer look at the words that break us slowly. Before we begin, if this kind of content speaks to you, if you're navigating difficult family dynamics in your later years, if you're searching for strength, for clarity, or for peace, then like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and comment the number 1 so I know you're here. Don't forget to subscribe, because what we're building here is a space for healing, for wisdom, and for dignity. Let's begin. Somewhere along the way, the relationship changed. The mother who once held her child through every fever now gets dismissed with a sigh. The father who once worked 3 jobs to keep the lights on now gets spoken to like he doesn't understand a thing. At first, it's subtle. A shift in tone. A quick glance. A conversation cut short. But over time, it grows heavier, colder. It's a strange thing to witness. When love, once warm and open, starts to shrink into silence. When every sentence a parent wants to say feels like a gamble because they fear upsetting their own child. When honesty is no longer safe and peace depends on staying quiet. This erosion doesn't come with shouting or slammed doors. It comes with avoidance. With guilt. With the growing fear that speaking up might lead to distance or complete disconnection. So many mothers and fathers, especially in their later years, find themselves doing something they never imagined. They begin walking on eggshells around their own children. They silence their own needs. They excuse disrespect. They tolerate pain just to avoid being called difficult or overly emotional. But here's the quiet truth. That's not love. That's emotional control. And the saddest part? No one warns them. No one says, be careful, love can be used as leverage. Guilt can become a leash. That the golden years can quietly become a kind of prison, not built by cruelty, but by misplaced loyalty. Today, we're going to name it. We're going to bring it into the light. Because every parent deserves to feel safe, even inside their own family. Saying number 1, Mom, Dad, you're just being dramatic. It often starts with something simple. A mother shares that she felt hurt by how her daughter spoke to her last weekend. Or a father expresses worry about a decision his son is making. And instead of a pause, a moment of understanding. They hear it. Dad, you're just being dramatic. Mom, don't start again, you always make a big deal out of nothing. It's said with a sigh. A wave of the hand. A smile that doesn't reach the eyes. And just like that, the parent feels small. Their feelings are labeled too much. Their concerns are brushed aside as emotional noise. But behind that simple phrase is something far more harmful. It's a message that says, Mom, Dad, your feelings are too much. I don't have the energy for this right now. Can you just not make a big deal out of it? There was a father named Mr. Harper, 76 years old. He lived alone after losing his wife. Every Sunday, his daughter would visit, but she was often distracted, impatient. One day, he quietly said, "I feel like you're not really here when you come." And her reply? "Oh, Dad, don't be so dramatic. You're lucky I even come over." He never brought it up again. Not because it didn't matter, but because that one sentence told him his emotions were no longer welcome. So he stopped sharing. He smiled more, spoke less, and every Sunday felt a little lonelier than the one before. If you're a parent who has ever heard those words and felt your chest tighten, your voice retreat, please hear this. You are not dramatic for feeling deeply. You are not difficult for wanting kindness. You are not weak for needing to be heard. No child, no matter how busy or stressed, has the right to diminish your feelings. And if this sentence has ever made you go quiet, you are not alone. Next, we'll talk about another phrase, one that doesn't just dismiss you. It excludes you. And if this message speaks to your experience, take a moment to share it. Leave a comment with your story, no matter how small. Because when we speak, we remind others they're not the only ones carrying quiet pain. Let's keep going. Saying number 2, Mom, Dad, you wouldn't understand, you're too old. It might sound casual at first. Mom, you just wouldn't get it. Dad, this is not your world anymore. But underneath that casual tone lies something deeper, something far more damaging. Not just disagreement. Not even disrespect. It's dismissal. Because when a child says this to a parent, they're not debating an idea. They're saying, your thoughts no longer matter. Your time has passed. Your voice is out of place. And for many parents, especially in their later years, it cuts deeper than they let on. They may smile, nod, say nothing. But inside, they feel themselves being pushed further and further away. Not by physical distance, but by the slow erosion of being left out. There was a time when they were the ones solving problems, calming storms, holding the family together. Now they're told they wouldn't understand. But here's the truth. Understanding isn't about age. It's about listening. It's about caring enough to try. A parent doesn't have to know every detail about modern life to recognize pain in their child's eyes. To know when something's wrong. To offer wisdom, not from textbooks, but from life. So when a child says, you wouldn't understand, what they're really doing is building a wall. And when those walls grow tall enough, they block out something that no technology can replace. The quiet strength of a parent's presence. If you've ever heard this, and felt the sting behind it, you're not alone. You didn't deserve to be shut out of the world you helped build. Next, we'll look at a different kind of phrase. Not one that excludes, but one that pressures. It sounds like independence, but often, it's emotional leverage in disguise. Before we move on, if you've ever been made to feel too old to be listened to, share your experience. Leave a comment. Because every time one of us speaks up, another person out there feels a little less invisible. Let's keep going. Saying number 3, Mom, Dad, if you won't help me, I'll just do it on my own. At first, it might sound mature, like your child is stepping up, ready to face the world. But the truth is often more complicated. Mom, if you won't lend me the money, I'll figure something out. Dad, if you can't pick up the kids, I'll manage somehow. It's not a statement of strength. It's a warning. A quiet way of saying, if you don't say yes, something bad might happen, and it'll be on you. To a loving parent, that's unbearable. Because the last thing you ever want is to watch your child struggle. And they know that. So they don't beg. They don't argue. They just leave the weight in your hands, and wait. This kind of sentence doesn't raise its voice, but it raises your blood pressure. It turns love into leverage. And it makes you feel like saying no equals failure. But here's what you must remember. You are not responsible for everything your grown child chooses to do. Support is a gift, not a duty. And if love only flows when you give in, then it isn't really love. It's conditional compliance. You have the right to pause. To ask, is this a real request or a quiet manipulation? And you have the right to answer honestly, without fear. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever felt guilt into saying yes, you're not alone. And you're not a bad parent for protecting your boundaries. Next, we'll face one of the hardest sentences a parent can hear. But for now, if this moment struck a nerve, take a breath. And if you're ready, share your story, so another mother, another father, knows they're not the only one. Saying number 4, Mom, Dad, you're the reason I turned out this way. It often comes out during conflict. Not in quiet conversation, but in the heat of frustration. When things in their life aren't going well. When they're tired, overwhelmed, or disappointed in themselves. And then it comes. That sentence. Cold. Heavy. Mom, it's because of you that I'm like this. Dad, you're the reason I turned out this way. It doesn't matter what you say after that. Because the moment the words leave their mouth, they land like a stone. Not in your ears, but in your chest. It's not about fairness. It's not about truth. It's about deflection. Your child is hurting, but instead of taking responsibility, they hand the weight back to you. And because you love them, you carry it. Even when it isn't yours to hold. But let's pause here. Let's say something that may be hard to believe. You are not to blame for every flaw in your child's life. You shaped them, yes. You tried, you failed, you loved. But they are grown now. And with that comes choice, accountability, autonomy. You don't have to argue. You don't have to defend yourself. You simply have to remember. Someone else's pain does not erase your dignity. If you've ever been blamed like this, say nothing. But don't forget who you are. And next, we'll face a sentence that goes even deeper. One that questions the very love you gave. We'll take a deep breath before we go there. But if this one touched a wound, you can share it. Quietly. Or simply sit with it, knowing you are not alone. Saying number 5, Mom, Dad, you never really loved me. Of all the things a parent can hear, this one might cut the deepest. Not because it's true, but because it erases everything. The late nights. The silent sacrifices. The times you held your tongue, swallowed your needs, and gave them the better piece every single time. To hear your own child say, Mom, I don't think you ever really loved me. Or, Dad, I never felt like you actually cared. It doesn't just hurt. It undoes you. Because love was never something you said perfectly. It was something you did, quietly, constantly, in ways they may never understand. And yet, this sentence treats all of that as if it didn't exist. But here's the truth you must carry now. Love doesn't disappear just because it wasn't recognized. Your love was real, even if they couldn't see it. And if they said it to wound you, to make you bend, to win an argument, that's not your shame to carry. It's okay to step back. To protect your heart. To stop proving what's already been lived. And if this message resonates with you, if you've ever heard these words and quietly broke inside, please like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear what you just did. And subscribe to this channel, because we speak what others leave unspoken. And that matters. Next, we face a phrase that doesn't deny your love. It denies your right to feel anything at all. Let's continue. Saying number 6, Mom, Dad, you're the one who needs help, not me. It often comes after you try to speak up. Maybe you notice your child withdrawing. Maybe you see them repeating the same harmful patterns. You ask a gentle question. You express concern. And suddenly, they turn it back on you. Why are you always so controlling? Honestly, Mom, I think you're the one who needs therapy. Dad, you're projecting. I'm fine. You're the one who never dealt with your stuff. At first, it sounds like deflection. But really, it's a tactic, whether conscious or not. It's meant to shut you down. To discredit your voice before it even finishes a sentence. And for many parents, especially those who come from a generation where emotions were buried, not spoken, these words land like a punch to the gut. They don't just sting. They confuse. They make you question your own clarity. Am I being too harsh? Am I really the problem? But pause here. Ask yourself, is my concern coming from control or from care? Is their reaction about me or about what they don't want to face? Because love sometimes holds up a mirror. And not everyone wants to look. If you've ever been made to feel like your worry makes you broken, take a breath. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to notice. You are allowed to ask hard questions without being labeled the problem. And if this sounds like something you've lived through, share it. Even just a word. So another parent knows they're not overreacting. They're not alone. Next, we reach the final, and perhaps most subtle, phrase. The one that hides behind a smile and sounds gentle, but leaves deep, quiet scars. Saying number 7, Mom, Dad, you owe me. It doesn't always sound harsh. Sometimes it's wrapped in humor. Sometimes in silence. And sometimes it comes out clear and sharp. Mom, if you had raised me right, I'd be further by now. Dad, you owe me for the childhood I didn't get. You brought me into this world. You owe me. But here's what most people don't say out loud. There is no love more quietly given than a parent's. And yet, no love is more easily forgotten when pain demands a place to land. To be told, after everything. After the long nights, the quiet sacrifices, the silent holding back of your own dreams. That you owe them. It's not just unfair. It's unkind. Because love was never a contract. It had no receipts. No itemized list of meals, school fees, forgiven mistakes, or hours waiting in worry. It was given freely, instinctively, imperfectly, yes, but always with the hope that it was enough. And yet, now, someone you raised is standing before you, not with gratitude, but with a balance sheet. If you've ever heard those words, and felt your chest tighten with something you couldn't even name, you're not alone. You don't owe your child a perfect past. You gave what you had. And no one has the right to turn your love into a debt you must keep repaying. You are not alone. You are a life giver. And if this final sentence felt like it was meant for you, share this video. Subscribe. Because what we speak here are the words many parents have held in their hearts, but never dared to say out loud. Now they are spoken. And now they are yours to release. Let's breathe together and close this chapter with dignity. You've heard the words. You've felt the weight. Now let me tell you a story. Because this isn't just about boundaries, it's about reclaiming your dignity without losing your love. Her name was Mrs. Lillian. 79 years old. Soft-spoken. Widowed. She had 2 adult children, both successful, both busy. One lived in the city, rarely called. The other called only when something was needed. Every time she tried to speak about her loneliness, her fears, her memories, she was met with, "Mom, don't be so emotional. Mom, I'm dealing with real problems. Mom, you should be grateful we still check in." So she stopped talking. She smiled when they visited, nodded, kept her pain folded neatly between polite greetings and lukewarm coffee. Until one afternoon, her daughter called, not to ask how she was, but to ask for money. Again. And something shifted. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She simply said, "Mom loves you. But Mom doesn't owe you anything." And mom won't keep proving her worth just to earn a place in your life. That was the first time in decades she chose herself. Not out of anger, but out of quiet, grounded truth. They didn't speak for a few weeks. But when they did, it was different. Not perfect. Not warm. But more honest. And for the first time, Lillian felt peace, not because they changed, but because she did. This video was never meant to turn your heart away from your children. It was meant to turn your gaze back toward yourself. To help you see, with clear and steady eyes, when a line has been crossed. And to know you are strong enough to step back, even from those you love. When love no longer feels like love at all. You've made it to the end of this video. That alone says something about you. It says you're not bitter, you're brave. You're not walking away from love. You're walking toward peace. Being a parent doesn't end when your children grow up. But neither should your right to be heard, respected, and treated with care. You are still a person. Still a heart. Still a soul worthy of softness. If something in this video stirred something in you, if a sentence echoed something you've lived through quietly, you're not alone. And if you believe more parents deserve to hear this, to feel seen, not just needed, please like this video. Share it with someone who may be holding in more than they show. And subscribe, because this space was created for voices like yours. We don't speak to blame. We speak to heal. And sometimes, all it takes is one honest sentence. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in the next one.